Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today I am still awake at 12:15 a.m. My stream ended a little bit about an hour ago, and I was feeling really tired, but I wanted to get some of this work done. So let's talk about it. Let's get all of that game time that I spent into this video talking about my first impressions and my thoughts about Decidueye. So obviously, my opinions change, they shift, and they warp and they get melded by what I can do, what I learn, how I play the character, what I see, and what it's like to play against the character and to have a character that's like a new character on your team as well, because I didn't only play Decidueye the whole time for the stream. So let's talk about it. Decidueye, where does it fall, Where does it fall? I think that Decidueye is incredibly strong. I think that the character feels very high tier without being overpowered. And I know that the initial kind of feeling when you see a character, especially an attacker that does like a lot of damage, is like, oh my god, that's crazy. It seems broken, but there's a lot of context, right? There's a lot of context. How does the character perform in solo queue versus team setting? What builds are you running? What abilities are you picking? Is it good into XYZ? When should you do what with it? And the more I played with it, originally I was leaning toward like, this character might be broken, and now I just feel like it's actually just a really strong, balanced character. The trade-off is simple. You have your traditional AD carry like Cinderace Greninja, but in Decidueye, you have no mobility option or very limited mobility options, and you have very high damage with high range. So it's the glass cannon, right? It's the, if you get to Decidueye, Decidueye's dead. That's really what we're facing here. So very, very strong character. I think that this is of the AD carries, because I do still think it's an AD carry. I think it's best to categorize it as AD carry, which stands for attack damage carry, for anybody that doesn't know, which just means auto-attacking, ranged auto-attacker. So the AD carries of the game are Decidueye, Cinderace, and Greninja. Of the three AD carries, I think that this is the one that can actually lane pretty well. Ironic enough, I think that this one can actually lane pretty well. That said, ironically, I think that it is incredibly strong in jungle. It is incredibly strong in jungle. You can feed the experience of this character. You can get this character ahead, which means that it does more damage. It shreds more. You give this long range character. This character has insane range. I'm not sure if it's exactly the same range as Pikachu's auto attack range, but it feels like it. You give this character insane range, and then you give it an early red buff or Bouffalot buff on top of that, and then you have this auto attack that slows from ridiculous range with crazy attack speed. The character in jungle feels really, really strong. Feels very, very good. So I definitely think that the character is going to excel in the jungle role. I don't think that you're going to see a ton of laning Decidueyes, at least in the competitive kind of coordinated scene, but you might see some, especially if they want to run something like Decidueye and Zeraora together. That could definitely work in the lane if you have the Decidueye. So there's definitely room for it, but I do think that this character excels in the jungle. Now let's talk about builds. What are we running here? Well, AD carries, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think that there will be very few AD carry builds in this game that do not run Muscle Band and Scope Lens. These are the two core items to the AD carry build. You have your literal AD carry build, which is the Muscle Band, that gives you attack speed, HP percentage shred, and additional damage, which is all great for this type of character. And Scope Lens is also another auto-attacking item. If you look at it, this increases your crit hit chance, your crit hit damage, so it is the more you're hitting, which is auto attacks, the more you're doing. So you can't go wrong with it, right? You absolutely cannot go wrong with these two items. Now, as for the third item, I think there's some options here. I think you could run Buddy Barrier. I think you could run Focus Band. Those are defensive options. I think you could go full into the damage build and run a Razor Claw. From my experience, when I had Buddy Barrier, it's definitely going to bring your base HP up by 600 if you have it maxed, which you should. And that's great. That's good for early game. That's good for mid game. That's good for late game. More health, great. When you ult or use your Unite move, it's going to bring you that Buddy Barrier shield for you and an ally. That's also great. Can't go wrong there. But I didn't miss it when I took it off, and that might be a solo queue thing. So what I expect is that for very coordinated play, you might see Buddy Barriers. For me personally, and what I do, and I do this with Cinderace and Greninja as well, I tend to drop that third defensive item, that Buddy Barrier, off and use a Razor Claw. I think that the damage that you can do is insane. I think that the range that you have to do that damage is insane. And ultimately, I think that it is the better option, at least for me. I like doing high damage builds as well, so for me, I really like it. But objectively speaking, I think that the true item build for Decidueye, probably the item build that you will see a lot of from others, maybe even myself, is Muscle, Scoped, and Buddy Barrier. As for abilities, I like all of these abilities except for Leaf Tornado. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to come right out of the gate swinging. Leaf Tornado doesn't feel that impactful. I don't really care for it. It doesn't really do anything for me. Not a huge fan of it. So yeah, wouldn't recommend that. So that's Shadow Sneak for you right there. Shadow Sneak is incredibly strong. You can use it as a searching tool. It's a sure hit. You can use it if there's somebody in a bush, it'll find them. It will slow your enemies. It will increase your move speed. It will lower their defenses. It allows you to do more damage. It gives you that slight bit of mobility, but it's not really a dash move. So you're not really safe like you have a flame charge or a smoke screen or a double team like Greninja and Cinderace, but a very good move. As for your first ability option, you have the choice between Spirit Shackle and the Razor Leaf. These two abilities are both really, really good, and it is very defining for the character. In my personal opinion, the build that I will be running is Razor Leaf and Shadow Sneak. That said, especially because Razor Leaf is basically like a built-in muscle band, that said, Spirit Shackle is incredibly strong, has crazy long range, really good snipe potential, doesn't change the character too much. It does pull you away from the kind of auto attacker build a little bit, but it doesn't change the character too much. I do think net total you're going to be doing less damage, but have more security and more long range poke. But I do think that Razor Leaf is the better option here, but it's a playstyle variance, and it also I think is matchup dependent as well. So really, really strong abilities here for this character for that specific tier. As for the way that the character plays, very fun, very fluid. It's all about positioning with a character like this. This character is essentially the equivalent of playing a character like Ninetales, Cram, or Pikachu, because you just don't have a lot of ability to control your own mobility. Like, you don't have a lot of reposition tools, so you're very team reliant in that sense. For team fights, you need peel, you need to be positioning very strongly, so this is your responsibility to position very strongly, but you're doing consistent auto attack damage, which I think is really strong. I think that this character power creeps Pikachu. I think this character definitely power creeps Ninetales, Cram. It just comes out and is a better character than those. In my opinion. Maybe not burst damage wise, but overall damage. Character is incredibly strong. As for the battle item, I'm going to be honest, I see no reason to ever use anything other than eject button. Usually on Cinder Greninja, I run full heal, but those characters have mobility options, so you can use that mobility option. You can use the full heal to get yourself out of CC. This character has no mobility options, so you kind of need it for the mobility option. It's a long cooldown, and unfortunately I just don't really think any other item fits in this slot. So eject button reigns king on this character. And just overall, I want to say from a design perspective, from both the physical design of the character, like how it looks, and from the kit design, I really love the character. I really think it's really fun. It feels like a unique AD carry. The Unite move is cool, but it's not crazy. It's definitely not, the Unite moves I don't think is as good as anybody thought it was going to be. It's good though. Like, you can shred a player with it. Maybe a couple players got that piercing arrow at the very end of it, really long range, but it's not broken at all. It's pretty solid. I think that Decidueye came out and is a strong, balanced character, which makes me really happy. I think that they really nailed this character. I'm really pleased with it. It can lane decently, pretty well. It can jungle phenomenally. It is pretty strong at most stages of the game. It's got long range. It doesn't feel overpowered. It doesn't have crazy mobility, so it needs some teamwork, but it shreds, man. The character is really, really fun and has a couple of playstyle variants with it as well. So friends, that is my opinion on Decidueye. This is what you need to know before picking up the character. I recommend spending the gems or spending the gold on this character. I do. I think that this is a phenomenal pickup. It is probably better than more than half the roster in the game. If you like long range auto attackers, if you like being a jungler or a laner, this is a great pick for you. I definitely recommend it. So as always, friends, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new for future Pokemon Unite content. I will have a video up every single day, a stream up almost every single day, and I will continue to grind. And yeah, hop in the Discord, check out some of the links in the description down below. Follow me on Twitter if that's your thing. I would love to have more of y'all over on that social media platform. As always, friends, be sure to be kind to one another, tell someone that you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.